guys, it's Lindsay. Some of you expressed that you would like to see Jeremy Bemis's full demonstration on installing packages and nucs. So I'm going to go ahead and split those. Into two videos. This one is installing packages, and I'll also be posting installing nucs shortly. And I did get full permission to record and post this on my channel from Jeremy, or actually it was from his wife, so just as good. But I just wanted to let you guys know that this is Jeremy Bemis from Bemis Bee Farm. It's a bee farm in Wrightsville, Arkansas, and that's who sold us our nucs, and they've been very helpful at answering questions and things like that. So it's a great place and a good place to learn, and they do this bee day every year. They do bee day and then like a honey harvest, two little festivals that they do. The bee day is more educational as far as installing and general maintenance and upkeep, and the honey harvest is, of course, harvesting and maintenance that you need to do for the fall and winter. They said they were going to try to record and put their videos up on their website next year, so I'm going to go ahead and link their website in the description box as well, in case you guys want to check that out. But anyway, let's get right on into Jeremy's demonstration.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go through how to install a 3-pound package into your Langstroth box. If you'll notice, I have 2 boxes on this, so can anybody tell me why that is? Who sat through my first talk this morning?
So they won't just stay, so they'll fill up, they won't just go up and down.
Okay. Earlier I was talking about you need to have one box. You need to install your packages in one box and let that box build up, and then add boxes from there on up. So you want this box to be 70% full. So that'll be 7 out of the 10 frames are completely full of brood, comb, pollen, honey, nectar, whatever it is. At that point you add a second box. So I gave one exception earlier that you could start with 2 boxes. And that'll be the only exception, and that is if you have drawn comb. So this was a dead out, so I have some equipment in here. So the foundation has already been pulled. So they are not starting from scratch. So this will be about the only time that you could start with 2 boxes versus 1.
That's what yours looks
This is drawn comb. So if you're starting with foundation, it'll be completely blank. Okay? So if you're starting with blank foundation, brand new foundation, you're only going to want to do this with 1 box, not with 2. Again, the only reason I'm doing 2 is because this is drawn comb. It's going to build the space that much faster. So if you've had a dead out, we've had a lot of dead outs this last year. If you're starting with older equipment, trying to get your bees back up, you can kind of fudge a little bit and give them a little bit more extra space. Has everybody got that? Okay. So, to go over what we have here before we get started, is you want to have everything ready before you do this. We've got our bottom, and y'all can come around if y'all can't see something. So this is a screen bottom. We have our entrance reducer. Okay. All this does is reduce the area that they have to guard. Okay, that's the only purpose for this little stick. So we're putting in a new hive that has to build up, so they're going to be weak as they get started, so we're just making it easier for them to guard their home.
Not side up or not side down?
It doesn't matter. You do side down in the winter for a little bit of an ice. I just out of habit always do side down, but it really doesn't matter this time of the year. Okay, so we have our bottom, our introducer. We have our box with 10 frames. So this is a 10 frame box. We have 10 frames to go in that box. Your brood area, I would recommend using the number of frames that go in that box. It does not give you any benefit having 9 frames in a 10 frame box. In your honey supers, you can. You can do 1 frame less or even 2 frames less if you really want to try that. In your brood area, you're not going to get longer bees just because you have more space for them to to go. They're only going to use the space that is on the frame that's already pre-fit. Okay.
Your instructions say leave 3 or 4 frames out.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't made that far yet. Okay, so then we have our inner cover. If you're using an inner cover, we have our outer cover. So that's our standard hive setup. So again, if you're doing mediums or deeps, brand new comb, you're only going to start with 1 box. If you are repopulating an old box, then you can do 2 mediums or still only 1 deep. So you're not going to go above 1 deep. Then we have our feeder. There's a million different kinds of feeders. This is a double hive top feeder with some floats. That's what this one is. So these floats float up. Notice the burr comb in the middle. You're going to get that no matter how you have it. Any feeder with the bigger opening, you're going to get that burr comb in there. Okay, so don't worry about it. It really doesn't matter. So you do not have to use this feeder. There are plastic hive top feeders. There's entrance feeders with jars. You can use a Ziploc bag and fill it up with sugar water, set it on top, and just make a couple small slits in the top. However it is you're going to feed, you need to feed. Okay, so just whatever feeders you have set up. I am not a fan of outside feeders. They draw in a lot of other bees. You can increase your chances of robbing. Again, you're starting out with a weak colony, so you don't want to increase any problems. And you typically tend to feed your stronger colonies more than your weaker colonies with open feeding. So I would feed inside the hive, at least to get you started with. Okay. The other thing we're going to have is wire. Paper clips will work. We'll get to that in a second. I've got a pollen patty here. I've got a brick to go on top of the hive. Like I said earlier, I'm currently missing about 4 or 5 outer covers and about 3 inner covers. I still have yet to find out here. So they will blow away. And then of course we got our bees. I think that's everything. So we're going to have a bottle of sugar water and then our hive tool. I think that's everything I got out. I don't think I'm missing. Okay, has everybody got all the pieces? Bouncing around a little bit. I think I'm missing something. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, the first thing you want to do is take your package and you're just going to give them a smack to the bottom and make sure your queen is in the cage and alive. Okay, you can see her right through there. They should be checking them before you pick them up.
Where do you see it? Okay.
Just hold her up into the light where you can see down in there. I can actually see her moving around in there.
It's going to be marked.
They should be marked, yes. All the packages are marked. The Nucs are not, the packages are. So what this box consists of is the wood box that you can see. There's this little bitty piece of wood on top. Just below this wood is a can, that's a feed jar. So when you take this piece of wood off, they are still sealed in. They cannot get out. So this little yellow tab here is attached to the queen. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop this piece off the top. We're going to pop that feed can out and immediately pull the queen out and then put the feed can back in and put this back on. Okay? We're going to just seal it back up. We're going to get the queen out and then we're going to seal this back up so that these bees are not trying to fly up and get out. Okay? Everybody got that? Okay, so prior to that, so we've already got our hive set up and we've got all of our stuff right here. You don't need to be going back to the house. To 5 frames from your box, 3 or 4, 5, somewhere in there. We're going to make a void for these bees to go into. Okay? Everybody see that? We've got a nice big hole. So we're going to take the sugar water. Anybody guess what this does? They don't fly. Makes it nice and sticky. Gets them occupied with getting the sugar water off themselves. So do you see how much they're staying in the bottom now versus what they were doing just a second ago?
And since you use the sugar water, do you use a different mixture?
1-to-1. We're doing everything 1-to-1 right now. Okay, so you can obviously see the huge difference in them staying in the bottom. Again, we're just trying to keep them from flying up and trying to leave. We're just going to pop this top off. This feed can takes a second for you to get used to pulling them out because they fit very tight. That little staple is sometimes hard to get out of the queen clip. Okay, so now we've got our queen out. All of our bees are still locked in their box, okay? So this is when you need to double check your queen and make sure she is moving around. Do not put her in if she's dead. She's marked. You can see the mark on her. Packages. Most people get packages in the mail. So we drive all night and bring these straight in. So these have not been in this box for more than probably a day, day and a half. So packages will typically take 5 days or so for them to get completely acclimated to the queen that comes in the box. So what that means is if we dump all these in here and you don't have that queen in there where they can get to her, and you don't have the bees locked into the hive, they can just pick up and leave. Put them in the box. We're going to force them to stay in there one more day with her to get them a little bit more acclimated to her as their new queen. So they're going to immediately go to work. Typically, once your bees start to draw comb and put up a little bit of nectar, they will not leave. Okay, that's with a nuke, with anything, swarms, whatever. No tractor comes by.
No, not really. I didn't see the whole lot.
We keep the hives in the grass for 1 day.
1 to 2 days. The grass is used green grass. It will dry out after a day or two, and they will automatically kind of be able to come and go. So it's not like you're locking them in. You're just kind of naturally making them stick in there for a day or two.
Do that with the bees as well?
You don't have to. I'll get to that why here in a second after that tractor goes by. These packages come from Georgia. The question was about nukes. You do not have to lock them in with nukes because bees will not hardly leave open brood. So they'll have open brood in the nuke. Okay, so again, our bees are still locked in. But we're going to take our queen cage and cut a little piece of wire. Okay, it's not very long. A paper clip will typically work with this also. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a hook with this wire. I'm going to show y'all this here in just a second. We're going to put it on the candy end of the queen cage. So the candy end is the white stuff. Okay? Everybody see the white stuff? Very critical that you know which end is the candy end. So we're just going to slide this wire through the cage wire and twist it around. Okay? All that is something to hold the cell up with, okay? Or the queen cup, whatever this thing is, the queen cage. Okay? Everybody got it? Okay. You're going to do that. At the same time, you're going to pull the cork out of the candy end. Do not pull it out of the other end. The entire goal for starting off your package is getting them locked in. We do not want everything to be completely released at once. We need them to stay together. Okay, so we've got our wire. We have the candy end completely exposed. Okay, the queen is still locked in. She cannot get out. If you do this and the queen is crawling out, you pull it out of the wrong end. The candy end is free. Okay. It takes about 3 days for them to completely eat through the candy and release the queen. So it's Saturday, so by Wednesday, that queen should be out moving around. It could take up to another 3 or 4 days for her to start to lay eggs. So by this time next Saturday, you should be seeing some eggs in your hive. Everybody see that? Point. Okay, we haven't released any bees. Everybody got it? If you're using drawn comb, so if you're using an older hive, you do not have to wire your queen. The wiring the queen is only for brand new comb. That's because she will drop through. There is nothing to hold her up. So that wire is to hold her up. So everybody get that? Okay. We're about to drop these in. So does anybody have any questions on our process so far? Nobody?
Do you also cover the entrance at the top with a little air?
You can. To cover it, the ventilated covers. So that's closed and that's open. All you do is just slide the top forward. We don't really care if the bees can come and go. If you have a little bitty tiny hole and they can get out, it's really no big deal. We're just trying to keep it where they can just completely evacuate the hive. So if you have a few bees left on the outside, don't worry about it. Again, it's just to kind of force them to stay in that box for a day or something, really all we're trying Okay, I'm going to show you the aggressive way to do this first. You can probably guess which way I do it. So again, we're just going to squirt them down with a little bit more water. Again, I'm not drowning them, I'm just getting them sticky. So we're going to knock them all to the bottom again. Just a couple more squirts. I always leave my half a blister. All right, so now we're taking the feed jar out completely. And here's the fun part. You just shake the crap out of them.
So cool.
See how few bees we have flying around? Now I got almost all of them out of it. That's pretty good. I only did that because I'm doing a demonstration. There's normally not that many out. We're just going to stand that up right here at the entrance. Okay? Now our frames, we're going to take 2 frames. Why don't y'all come up and see the ball of bees here in the middle before I close all this up. You see a big ball of bees and they're just going to start crawling their way up the frame. Again, we're trying to, you don't want to flood them, but we're just trying to get them sticky enough where they're not urging to fly around all over the place. Yes, good question. If you are doing brand new comb, spray everything down with sugar water. All this stuff here, all this sticky stuff is all propolis. Now you get propolis from trees. They'll coat everything in the hive with it. So once you're a beekeeper for more than 10 minutes, you've got propolis. You can scrape this stuff off. Some people will scrape it all off, and they'll actually just go through and rub it on a new box just to get a little bit more of their. She has a mark on her back. Okay, so you can see the bees are already kind of coming up and filling up these frames. So now with brand new foundation, you're going to take 2 frames. You'd have done this a lot faster than what I've done it. So you'll have a ball of bees under the frame. So don't shove it in there because you're going to be pushing down on those bees. But I've waited so they're kind of crawling up a little bit. So you're going to set 2 frames in the middle. And then you're going to take your queen. And you need to have it where the bees can get to the screen. So if your frames are like this, don't put the screen into the frame because then they can't get to her. We need them communicating with the queen to accept her as their new queen. So if you put it in, they can't communicate with her and they're not going to do you any good. So you need it out where you can see that screen from the side, okay? Does everybody get that? We put 2 frames right in the middle. So what you would do is, you could do it right in the middle. You're just going to put it below the top bar, and then you're going to take that wire and kind of make a hook with it to go over that frame. So that way it doesn't fall into the bottom. So then you'll squish those frames together, kind of locking that cage in place. So the frames will hold it from the side and the wire keeps it from falling down. So y'all can come by and look at this. Again, this is drawn comb, so it's going to stick into that comb, but having a brand new foundation, it should look just like that, except you'll just slide the frames together. If I'd been thinking I would have grabbed 2 brand new frames to show you exactly how it looks on the top. Now I'm just going to squeeze that frame together, just like that. So if y'all want to come see that, that should be how you look, whether it's new comb or not, to the void. Okay, we've got our 10 frames back in the box. We've installed our bees. We have the queen where the bees can get to it, and the candy end is up. Again, that goes back to that debris. If you have a attendant bee that dies, if your candy end is down, they can fall into the hole and block the hole where the queen can't get out of the cage. So again, we just do a few of those things on the off chance some weird things happens. That's to help. Now we got a train we got to listen to. Okay, so at this point, if you're starting with new comb, we're going to put the feeder on. Again, I've got some drawn comb, so I'm going to give them just a little bit more space. I'm going to go ahead and just set this one on here. Okay, so now this type of feeder goes on above the boxes below the inner cover.
The book was saying to put a patty
Where I'm about to.
underneath that.
Yeah, I'm about to. So this particular type of, I got this in the bad box to show you when I got holes in it. This particular type of feeder goes on below the inner cover. If you're using an entrance feeder, it goes outside. Some of the plastic ones go on top of your inner cover. Just be sure you know how your feeder works. So this one, it's going to be the feeder, then inner cover, outer cover. So what we're going to do next is we're going to get our pollen patty. So this is a 1 pound pollen patty. So I usually just take about a quarter of it and break it. I usually only do about a quarter pound just to see how they like it. Some bees will love this stuff, some will hate it. So this will go below your feeder. You want to put it right on top of your brood. So normally I install these up a little higher, but showing you this, I did the bees down here. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to put it right above that brood. It's actually right above the queen. So there is no brood, but that's where the brood's going to be, right around where that queen is. So we just put it right on top. You can actually see them already coming to it and eating it. Y'all can see that, they're already coming up to it, so that's a good sign.
Is that a paper that's on it you just leave on?
It's paper. They'll chew the paper out and haul it out. So you just literally cut it and put it right in. You do not have to use a pollen patty. Yeah.
You raked that off your truck last week?
Do what?
You rake all that pollen off your truck?
Yeah, no. So I've got that pollen patty right above the brood, or where the brood will be, right in the center. I'm gonna put the feeder on.
See how much he puts in there.
A
They
gallon.
will drink as much feed as you give them.
So you fill both sides?
Yes, since the pollen patty is down here, I usually fill both sides. I didn't bring enough feed to fill both sides. But yeah, you can fill it up. Whatever you got, fill it up. 1 and 1 sugar syrup. We're gonna do 1 and 1 until fall. Okay. 2 to 1.